Assalamualaikum and very good day to all. So for week two, this topic will discuss on the site selection and development. At the end of this lecture, students should be able to analyze the factors influencing livestock farm selections, and you are able to design a basic farm layout plan incorporating infrastructure, zoning, and sustainability principles. And finally, you have to be able to evaluate the suitability of a given site for livestock farming based on this scenario. Okay. Livestock farm site selection can be referred to the process of choosing a suitable location for establishing a livestock farm based on factors such as climate, water availability, land suitability, accessibility, and also biosecurity. And for the farm development, we can define it involve planning, designing, and implementing the infrastructure, facilities, management system to the efficient livestock farming. Next, importance of proper site selection for farm sustainability. So why this process is so important that we require to do a proper selection and proper selection before we build a new farm or build a new barn. Right. First, to enhance the productivity, a well-located farm ensure optimal environmental conditions for livestock growth and reproduction. So actually, there are a guideline. So we cannot build a farm uh, near to the housing estate or in the city. So that's why we cannot build the farm near to the residentials and not too close to other buildings, other building that inhabited by humans. All right, next, reduce disease risk. A proper distance from other farms minimize the spread of contagious diseases and improve biosecurity. So it also has guideline for building a new farm. Actually, if we are in a farm, then we want to build a new barn. So between new barns require 30 feet. Yes, the distance between the new barns is 30 feet. Okay, but if you want to build a new farm within or in a certain area that may have several existing farms, so the distance should be in radius 50 meter, right? 50 meter. Then actually, in Malaysia, we don't have any. Uh, yeah, guideline is there, but implementation sometimes not really proper. Okay. Next, to ensure waters and feed availability, okay, proximity to reliable water sources and feed supplies. So, if we want to build a farm, for example, for cattle or other small ruminants, so these are uh, the the most significant, the most important things that you have to look, which is water sources and also feed supplies. Yeah, either you get, if you want to build something, a farm with using the water from Jabatan Air something, so that's incur some cost, right? So if you want to build a farm for ruminant, you have to look also the the requirement for um, fodder. So isn't if it is not available, uh, I think you have to look another place. So next, improve market access. So we want to build a farm that near to the markets and also near to the transport routes that can reduce logistical challenges and increase profitability. So I give you one example. For example, we want to build a dairy cattle farm in Chile, but the processing plant and transportation company are in Kota Baru. So the locations is about 80 kilometers, and the traveling time is almost 2 hours. So every day you have to milk the cows and transport the fresh milk into the processing plant. So it requires you every day is almost 2 hours. Then it will also adding some cost into your production. Okay, then that's the production cost the first. Then after that, after the processing, then you want to distribute into the large market in the Kelantan or others in the whole country. So it will incur some cost. Okay, additional cost. So how much you want to sell your milk compared to the existing farm like Farm Fresh. So the Farm Fresh build the dairy kettles, and the nearby is the processing plant. So every day the fresh milk transported into the processing plant, then they process, packaging, and the cost only on the distribution to the whole country. Okay, next, support long-term environmental sustainability, because nowadays we are talking about the environmental sustainability. So the selecting sites with a good drainage, erosion control, and waste management capabilities prevent land degradation. So in this case, uh, Department Veterinary Services has the guideline for apa dia punya? Hmm, for guideline for MyGap, okay, Malaysian Good Animals Practices. So we were conducting evaluation on the drainage and all the environmental side, all the environmental things. I will share later on the other topics. Then, if the farm are not obey to the guidelines. So we the DBS of all the authorities can find or can ask you to close the farm. That's the implementation of the law. Right, next, reduce operational costs. So choosing a site with a natural advantage, like a shelter from wind and good ventilation, something like that. So it will reduce some operational costs because we don't need to uh, adding the fan or something, uh, fencing, fence or fan kipas ataupun pagar, because we already have the natural shelter or natural advantages. Next, site selection consideration for a new livestock farm. First, environmental factors. There are several things we have to look on the environmental factors. The first, the climate. The temperature, humidity, and rainfall must be suitable for the chosen livestock species. If we are living in the Pantai Timur, so we have a heavy rainfall every year. So certain place cannot build a farm, but certain place maybe we can farm a certain species as a certain species only, right? So next, soil quality. It must be fertile, well drained soil supports pasture growth and prevent waterlogging, right? This in Terengganu, Besut Setiu Agropuritan. So every year they face this problem, waterlogging, for almost 4 to 5 months. Right? So they cannot harvest the forage using tractor or machine. They have they have to harvest the forage, the grass manually because of the waterlogging on the pasture. Next, topology, topography, right? So gentle slopes are preferable for drainage, while steep slopes increase erosion risk. Huh? So if you go to the ATP, you will see the buns in the good, actually in the good gentle slope, but later on we will measure the slope during the practical class. Next, water availability, reliable and a clean source, river, boring, or rainwater harvesting is essential for livestock hydration and farm operations. So if we can have a free sources of water, so it will reduce the cost of your operation. And next, natural vegetation. So the presence of suitable forage or trees also will adding some value in your farm that will help to reduce some costs on the feed. Right, for the land suitability and legal aspect, so the size of land must be adequate for the intended livestock operations, grazing and housing, and also the expansion. So this thing will be detailing on week 8 and week 9 on the livestock farm planning and also the herd flow. And next, land ownership and legal permit. Okay, so you have to know either you want to buy the land, or because buy the land is not really profit, it's not really practical compared to we just rent the land. Okay, uh, but you have to verify the ownership status and obtain the necessary government approval or zoning permit. Okay. For your information, actually, the government, like under Department of Veterinary Services, they have a certain zoning permit for livestock rearing. So not all, but it depend on certain states, because DVS governance is under state government. So it's depend lah. Ada certain negeri bagi, ada certain negeri dia tak bagi. Contoh macam Melaka, dia tak ada zoning permit because uh, faktor land restriction, right? So tu dia susah sikit lah. Okay, next. Soil drainage and erosion risk. So poor drainage can cause flooding and disease outbreak, while erosion can degrade land quality. Okay, next, infrastructure and accessibility. Right, so the road access is the important things you have to look. Either that place have a good transportation network and that actually can facilitate the easy movement of feed, livestock, and farm produce to market. So if you build your farm far away from the route or from the access route, it will increase your operational cost. Okay. Next, proximity to market and suppliers. So kena buat ladang yang dekat dengan market dan juga suppliers. So be near to the feed suppliers, slaughterhouses and customer can reduce the operational cost. Right? And finally, electricity and communication, power and internet. And nowadays, internet services should be in your farm, right? So the availability of these things, power and also electricity and communications, would enhance the modern farming operations, such as if you want to incorporate IoT, Internet of Things, in your farm for the automated feeding, and also some nowadays we sell through the social media, and of course it requires the internet service. Right, next, biosecurity and disease control. Your farm should be distant from other farm. So it will prevent, uh, we want to prevent disease transmission and also enhance the biosecurity. So like I mentioned before, the distance between farm and distance between your barns can avoid or can prevent the disease transmission. And also we want to follow and we want to anchor the biosecurity in the your farm, right? So this thing we have to follow, because once the outbreak, it will cause a huge loss to your farm. Okay, next, waste disposal and manure management. So proper systems should be in place to handle farm waste efficiently. Okay, how do you want to manage the solid waste, liquid waste, chemical waste, and also the bio waste like carcass. So that's the things how we want to handle, or we want to build a proper system for our farm. So this kind of waste we will discuss on week 13. So in details we will discuss on week 13. And finally, predators and pest control. So you have to consider, and in certain farm we need fence, right? Or otherwise we have a natural barriers. We are so lucky if we have a natural barriers, because we don't need to spend for fencing. And or other control measures. For example, you we farm sheep. At the same time, we also train a dog to be the herders, for the sheep. Okay? So that's all the things in the biosecurity and disease control. Okay, next, socio-economic consideration. Right? So if we want to build a farm, we also have to look into the socio-economic consideration. For example, in labor availability and cost. So proximity to a workforce is crucial for day-to-day farm operation. For example, you build a farm in a grid, Tasik Banding, but the nearest um, workers or labor availability in the jelly or the grid, it takes almost 1 hour. So it will increase the cost of your operation, right? So it's not practical to do like that. So you have to build your farm not too close to the housing estate, but or housing estate, but you have to build the farm that we easy to access the labor, yeah, and it will reduce some costs lah for you. Next, community and cultural, cultural. So neighboring communities should be comfortable with livestock farming activities lah. So if you read uh, or you watch in the TV, we are having some problem previously when the Kerajaan Selangor want to build modern farming on a swine, kan. So dia bukan masalah modern farming swine tu, tapi masalah tempat tu adalah kawasan orang Melayu yang majority. So dari segi cultural, dari segi community punya norms, is out of the community of norms tu. So benda tu menjadi satu masalah dan tentangan kepada projek tersebut lah. Okay, so that's the things lah, actually the issue. And last, government regulation and incentive. So some areas may offer financial support, tax exemption or grant for agricultural project. So for example dekat Keluang dekat Keluang Johor, tempat tu adalah tempat digazetkan kepada pertanian dan peternakan sahaja. Okay. So kalau jalan daripada Tol Air Hitam sampai ke Bandar Keluang tu banyak betul tempat-tempat pertanian because the government uh, had regulate that place for agriculture project only. Okay, next, sustainability and environmental impact. So most of our farmers don't care about the sustainability and the environmental impact. So we are from the university, we have to educate our farmers, and or when finally you all sendiri yang nak buat farm, you have to look into the environmental impact. So we have to do the environmental impact assessment to ensure that our farm not contribute to the pollution, okay, and not give to the adverse effect to the um, environment, right? So nowadays we use the renewable energy. So the option for solar, wind, or biogas. Biogas not popular in Malaysia or in the Southeast Asia, not really popular on the biogas. But certain country like India and other Western country, they use a biogas integration for their farming. But solar is the most popular, to generate the electricity. Right, next, sustainable pasture management. Land should support rotational grazing and avoid overgrazing. So untuk rotational grazing, you have to look into the huge land requirement, and also the management of the livestock to avoid the overgrazing, because overgrazing can cause the compaction of the land, compaction of the land, and gradually it will cause infertile for that land. So that's why we have to avoid the overgrazing at the certain area. Right? And finally, ecosystem ecosystem. So avoid location near protected forest, wetland, or water catchment areas to prevent environmental degradation. Right? So in the ecosystem preservation, actually, we don't want to disturb the protected area, right? So kalau hutan simpan you nak pergi buat farm is not suggested. It's really prohibited. And kalau nak buat tempat yang memang catchment area for the water pun, itu pun satu benda yang kalau boleh elakkan lah, because once this area being disturbed, it will also disturb all the ecosystem. Not only on that area, but it will disturb all the ecosystem for the environmental lah. Right, next, previously we were talking about the site selection, why it's so important for the site selection. Now for the farm planning and development. So in the farm planning, you have to do the first thing is the farm layout and also the design, because certain farm, you have to, if you want to get endorsement by the local authorities, so farm layout is required. It's required as a main document, right? So in the farm layout, you have to have zoning for animal housing, feed storage, and waste management. This is basic things. Maybe you will have another things lah, like macam office ke, garage for your machineries ke, whatever. So that's the other things. Eh? And then separation of young stock, breeding stock, and sick animals. So in the barns, you have to, or in your farm, you have to have a separate barns for young stock breeding, or sick animals, or the different production stages of the animals lah. Okay. Right. Next, pasture planning and rotational grazing. Not necessary, but if you have these things, that's good for your farm. Okay, this is one example. If you want to have the rotational grazing, so at least you will plan for 6 plot, because one plot we will deploy the animals for 1 week, okay, 7 days. Then if then after the 7 days, then transfer to plot 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And after plot 6, it will back to the plot 1, kan. So 7 days times 6, it's almost 42 days. Okay, so 42 days, it's pertinent, is enough time for the plot one to regenerate the new grass. So that the rotational, that's why we need a 6 plot for rotational grazing. Right, farm in the farm planning and development also, we have to look into the infrastructure development. So what kind of infrastructure you want to build? Livestock housing, barn shed or paddocks, fencing and security measures, biosecurity lah, security or biosecurity, and then feed and water supply system. This is necessary things that you have to look into the infrastructure development. Right. When we talk about the sustainable farm management, it's about how much you spend and how much you gain, right? And how long your farm will be survived. To do that, you have to know to utilize the efficient resources. So that's why during the site selection and also the farm planning, you have to know what are the sources, the free sources lah, free sources of water, energy, or land, kan? So this thing will increase the survival of your business, of your farm. Okay, and the integration of renewable energy, solar or biogas in future, okay, water recycling and composting, and this thing also can increase uh, your operational cost, your profit. For example, we do the compost, uh, apa manure compost. So this kind of fertilizers, organic fertilizers, can be utilized in your farm, or you can sell the fertilizers, so you can get some money from that lah. So we will come into the activity one, farm layout planning. So the objectives to will design a farm layout that consider infrastructure and then welfare and also sustainability. So these all the tasks. So I hope you can do this by your own. All right, this is the floating dairy farms in Netherlands. So uh, this activity, you have to evaluate the practicality of floating dairy farm simulation, and you have to look the critical assess the feasibility of adopting floating dairy farm in Malaysia, considering environmental conditions, dairy production needs, and socio-economic impact and sustainability. So tengok benda ni, then cuba cari adakah benda ni sesuai dekat dekat Malaysia, dan you try to argue, or you have to support your argument based on the consideration of the environmental, the reproduction needs, socio-economic, and sustainability. Okay, I think with that, thank you so much. Don't forget the activity.